I'd be home by 9. Hell, I tell her that most of the time. Whoa, baby, don't know, won't hurt her too much. Whoa, I'll tell her where, but I won't say what. Oh, now I'm dancing, oh, I'm dancing with the devil.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Otter Creek in Rio Grande. So I've stared at this bridge long enough and moved the bents around enough different times that I think I've finally made the decision of how this thing is going to go. And so I think the next thing I need to do is go ahead and glue these girder plates onto the side and then finish painting the bents and then kind of glue the whole thing together and go from there. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. It's just time to move forward because I've procrastinated with this thing long enough. It's time to take some action. Well, it's looking a little more like a bridge now, and I'm at a point where I've got to take a few more things into consideration before I move forward. And that's, what does the landform look like in here? I think I want to try and do something in here before I make any permanent glue joints with this bent for sure. And I probably need to do the same thing over here. And then another aspect that I don't think I've talked about yet, but the cork. I think I need to remove a portion of this cork next to the riverbed, throughout the whole thing. And probably also in here. I would like to make all of these bents, whatever, the footing is going to be at the bottom of these. I would like to make that all one uniform size as best to my ability as I can. So I think I also need to remove some of the cork in here, which means I need to do some scenery things that I don't really want to do in this video. So I'm gonna stop the camera here and, I don't know, maybe drink a beer and think about it. most of the painting is complete, and now it's just a matter of figuring out what I should do next. Now, I looked, and kind of fiddled around a little bit with some foam here, and I think bottom line, I'm never going to really be able to see what this is going to look like until I go full scale with it, because there needs to be a ridge line that runs just on the inside of this track, and how all that connects in through here on the other side and along with the riverbank is yet to be determined. I have an idea of what I want it to look like. It's just going to be a matter of bringing it into reality. I'm at a point now where I think what I'm going to have to do is take the whole thing off and then go ahead and glue the bents in, and then, make a final determination on whether or not I connect these two middle bents. I think that it would not be prototypically inaccurate not to connect any of them with the size and the height that this thing is. I think I've seen some pictures of some similar bridges where nothing is connected. The problem is I've already made these connecting plates on all of the bents that if I don't connect anything to them, will it make sense? So on to the next thing. I've decided not to mess with the bents at the moment because I really think that the first thing I need to do before I even think about gluing any of that on is figure out the abutment to the bridge. And right now, the plan is to make it out of foam, and there'll be a recess right in here, if you can kind of see, that I'll come in with another foam block, and that's pretty close to what it looks like. There's one photograph of this bridge that kind of gives you an idea of what the abutments look like. And of course, I'm not trying to get it exactly right. As long as I'm close, I'm good. So, and these, of course, this is just a trial piece. I've got two of them. The issue right now is the plates on the inside stick out further. So if I put this up against it, you can see there, they're not lining up. So I think I need to take this back off and get a razor saw and make sure that they're the exact same length on both ends of the bridge before I go much further. I've been working on the bridge abutments, and I kind of got carried away and forgot to film any of, kind of what I've done with the color. Of course, I started with this, and this has been my test piece. And I start with this Vallejo flat earth, and then I'm also mixing just a little bit of this gray 71.044 to begin with. And then once it's base coated with kind of a collage of those two colors, then I come in and just do a little bit of these different colors, which is shadow rust, wood, dark rust, and this IDF sand gray. And then once that's kind of laid on there in the way that you like it, I go in and then chase it all with a wash of this dark gray by Vallejo. Now it's just a matter of figuring out, what do I do for the grout? Is the grout even necessary? And I'm going to think about that for a second. Now, one thing I'll mention about this is I did deliberately kind of, if you create these things, it doesn't really make sense. See if I can do this on camera. But if you line up the stonework with this that you're going to overlay on the side, that doesn't make sense because they should be offset, right? So I couldn't figure out a way to make the bricks interlace with each other. So my solution, I think, is going to be just to take this. I can trim off the back side of this as much as I need and just recess it in so that it looks like there are two different kind of structures. And I think that will be just fine for, anyone who wants to stick their head underneath the bridge and take a look at things closer. So now I need to figure out what I want to do with the grout, if it even needs grout. But I'm going to do some testing on this piece. All right, what I've got here is this golden fiber paste, and it's about halfway between opaque and transparent. It's completely matte, and it's fairly thick. It's probably the only stuff I had on hand that I thought might work for this. What I've done is I've just taken a glob of it and put on this plastic lid here, and then I put one drop of this gray. I thought that might look okay. I was a little worried about getting too much of the color in there, because if I do, I don't know, it might end up painting the actual brick, which I don't really want. So we're gonna try this on my test piece. I have no idea if this is going to work. I'm just going to do this corner up here. Definitely goes inside the cracks really well. My only concern is, am I going to have to come back and repaint again? Because I don't know think. Let's see what happens if you try and just take some water and clean off the brick. It definitely homogenizes the colors. I'm just not sure if it doesn't make everything the exact same color. But I like it. I think that's going to work. It's just a matter of I might have to go back in and chase some more color back on top of the brick after it dries. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I've got the mortar added in to all of these, and it definitely added a filter that you might want to consider if you do this. Now, I did kind of two different sets, and because I ran out of my mixture, and I don't know, it's kind of a subtle difference, but this side there's a little bit more color that comes through, and then this definitely has more of a filter. And I think on this one and this other one I did, I ended up using a little water. I thinned it down to make it go a little bit further, and I think that ended up kind of creating a kind of a paint filter along with the fiber paste. So my overall thought, I definitely could have been a lot bolder with the colors. I think they would have shined through a little bit better. All in all, I think it's going to be fine on the railroad. So I think the next step is to go ahead and glue these onto the bridge and see what they look like up on the layout. Bridge abutments are glued, and you kind of have to imagine what maybe the terrain will look like associated with them, because some of that's going to be covered up by hillside, mountainside, so on and so forth. Now, if you're a structural engineer who builds railroad bridges watching the channel, please give me a little bit of grace. It's designed to look and feel like the prototype, and so I know there's some issues here, probably with the placement of the bents, and I'm still not 100% sure that this is the final arrangement. At some point, I'm going to have to make a final decision. And where I'm at right now, I think it might be a bad decision to glue those in and put the spline up there in any kind of permanent way before I do anything with the river. Because my hands are going to need to get in there and move things around and work with Sculpt-A-Mold and who knows whatever else. So I think there needs to be a grand pause on the construction of this bridge until such time I can, feel comfortable that whatever there is left to do with it can be done in and around the river in such a way that I don't have to worry about breaking it. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to kind of let this sit for who knows how long and do some things in the area, maybe with foam, and I might even go ahead and work a little bit on the river. I don't know. I do know one thing: I need to think about it before I move much more forward on it. So I guess that's all for this video, and who knows when I'll get back to this project. But thanks for watching Otter Creek and Rio Grande. We'll see you around.